what I see on social media as people and humans like we are. These figures, these people become less than human because they disagree with us.
It's the new racism.
It's a new racism. And you know what? That creates a polarization that gives platforms to people who like to play to each side of the house.
On this episode of A Call to Leadership, we continue our conversation moving into the realm of Disney, their decisions around their stockholders, their decisions around their customers, and their employees. If you haven't listened to the first installment of this 3-part series, I encourage you to go back to episode 49, which is part 1, and listen in and carry this conversation forward as we equip you to serve, to aim for greatness in your own leadership of an irresistible offer of a life. I can't wait for you to join us. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership.
So actually, Disney's losing almost 3 times as much as Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing layoffs. They've been, Chapek, who formerly the CEO, now has been terminated. And Bob Iger, who was the CEO for 15 years, has been reinstated. Iger had no desire to go back to Disney. In fact, he was recently asked if he did. He said no, but he's being pulled in because he's probably one of the only people who can at this point save Disney. Because Disney stocks are way down. They're having to raise prices, and they're hemorrhaging even more than Twitter. But you don't hear the same pushback on Disney. Probably most people haven't even heard about all the layoffs and all the issues, right? I mean, there's other issues, but you hear it with Musk. He was the darling of capitalism as of 3 months ago, and now he's
a pariah.
Yeah. A villain.
Yeah.
What do you mean, man? That's what you become when you disagree with people.
Oh, no, 100%. Right?
You're either one. I mean, it's perception.
Yeah.
Like there is, we don't have someone in the middle anymore that, oh, he's in the middle. He aligns this way on this stuff, aligns this way on this stuff. He's a good guy. No, he is 100% aligned with what I believe. Bad guy. Mm-hmm. That's the world we live in.
Yeah.
We're so polarized right now.
That's why I don't tweet.
We're so polarized right now. And, what you said about Disney is not surprising. I mean, it's a different dynamic of culture change that you're seeing in Twitter, except he's taking it the farther left, right? And some people don't like that, So it's, your leadership will have, either a positive or negative effect on your organization. So you decide which way to lead it, right? If you believe wholeheartedly in your direction and you're, like Elon, for instance, you're okay with losing, mind share of people that maybe disagree with you. But you have something like Disney where Disney's been all about the characters and the,
experience, the story.
Experiences. Now they're becoming a social integrator.
Yeah.
Like they want social issues part of Disney. Guess what? Sometimes people just want their Mickey Mouse.
People want to be entertained.
They want to be entertained.
Like, and I agree, right? Like you go to Twitter expecting some controversy.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that's what it's there for. You go to Disney because you want your kids to have the experiences that you had growing up. And, for them to get into any social issues was just poor judgment. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Like they have the right to do whatever they want. However, right, like you need to know your audience,
right?
And they should be as inclusive as possible, right, with their storytelling. But they shouldn't be trying to dictate public policy.
Yeah, with force. I think that's a lot of, some of it, of course, some of it is simply decision making on the streaming media and content creation and who's in charge in different areas. I know Chapek led some moves to take control out of certain hands, and decision-making control, which hurt Disney as well. And of course, then what happened in Florida with some of the legislation and him not taking a stand on it, at least speaking about it, and then employee walkouts, and then taking a really hard stand, which then backfired from not only from a legislative perspective, because then the state of Florida and of course DeSantis said, okay, well, you know what? You want to fight? I'll roll up our sleeves too. But then it sent a bigger message to who? To people voting with their wallets.
Absolutely. Your
customer. So we don't want to be, we want to be at Disney for one reason only. And actually, I'm going to repeat this quote because as one of the reasons why people have found Iger to be so effective is because of this. This is what he said very recently. I fundamentally believe that storytelling is what fuels this company, and it belongs at the center of how we organize our business.
Absolutely. That's it.
It's so clear. It's so simple. And if you have that vision at hand, then you're going to make different decisions when you're faced with these high challenge situations because they're coming at you.
Yeah.
And your customer, like you're a customer, I'm a customer because why? We've got families and maybe if you don't have a family, you can still be a customer, but like that resonates.
Oh, you can be a customer. I mean, they own everything. I mean, they own Marvel, they own Star Wars. I mean, they own everything, right? And so what blows my mind is you have a company like Disney, right? Like, I mean, just American tradition, right? Like, I mean, you're the CEO. You know that at best this country is 50-50, right? From a political standpoint. At best, 50-50.
Yeah.
Why take a stand? Why not create a cartoon, right? Like use your gift
of
to
storytelling,
help sway public opinion. You know what I mean? Don't just come out and I mean, talk about some of the moves. Like I just imagine Walt rolling over in his, like wanting to come out of his grave and just smacking somebody and being like, what are you doing? Like you can tell a story. Like you have all these different universes that you control. Have something for everybody from an exclusivity standpoint, but don't make a public, don't fight with a DeSantis who is obviously looking like you're raising him. You know what I mean?
You're challenging.
You're challenging him, and he's going to win.
Yeah. In the most fundamental way. You're challenging someone in their own backyard. Like that's their home front, right?
He's the boss.
Yeah. This is Right. So you're saying, look, I'm going to come on your turf and by your rules, and I'm going to challenge you to a duel. Mm-hmm. And you're right. And I'm not even using my resources. No. What are your resources? Your resources are tell a story. Think about how fundamentally Disney affected American culture, Americana, over the last, 80, 90, almost 100 years, right? And Chapek could have taken a cue from Disney from back in the 40s when all the McCarthy stuff was happening, all the strikes, and Disney was losing that battle. Disney lost the battle when it came to worker organization, and he took the hard stance politically within his organization and said, look, if you're going to, whine, if you're going to have a trouble understanding that you've got to pull up yourself by your bootstraps, you know what? You don't belong here. Hello, organized, right. Workers, right?
Right.
Huge strikes. He ended up capitulating totally. And so it's like you could have learned from his playbook because that stuff doesn't work.
Yep. I just think about how powerful it'd be if you really if you're, just pick any of these random, topics and you create a movie about your vision of inclusivity and how that works. And not only would you get further, people would choose if they want to watch it or not watch it, but it's not going to negatively affect you. You know what I mean? And you could make change. You know what I mean? You could show that maybe this is the right way or it's not the right way. But when you make a stance like they did, it's just, but I think in a larger sense, right? If you think about it, didn't they move all of their employees from California to Florida? So very similar to what Musk is doing, right? You're going from, an extremely liberal state to a very conservative state.
Yeah.
You know, it's different, right? And they should have thought about that before, you know what I mean, beforehand as well. Like,
so yeah, so like we're not thinking proactively, we're thinking reactively. You know, what you're talking about is the move, you know, moving because I'm being proactive because I see a better future and I know that I can take my people up. This is like leadership 101. But the other side is just being reactive. And being reactive is, it's necessary in sometimes, but man, you've really just got to step back because with all of the pieces that Chapek had to work with, I mean, it was a recipe for disaster for him. It really was. And you look at somebody, an Iger, which is completely sort of the antithesis in some ways, and his vision is so far in the future. Like, okay, what steps do I have to take today? Because this is the future state that I want people to buy into later. Then you're not. Then, you know, when your people walk out, because maybe you didn't speak, your response can be then is, look, I made a mistake. I should have at least made a statement about how I feel about this, not the Disney organization. Guess why? Because you're not the Disney organization.
Right.
And as soon as you make that stance, and Sam, I know you got a lot to say about this, you're right. You've about 50% of your customer base. It's like, you know, maybe this isn't the company I want to support.
Right.
I got one statement to apply to that. Michael Jordan said, famously, conservatives buy Jordans too. What do you think that means? He's basically saying that I will not get into these political, you know, issues, social issues, because my customers are not just, they're on the left and right.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
So you're either smart, right?
Smart.
Some people have actually came down on him because he's such a, you know, he's the figure of all, you know, probably the greatest athlete ever, arguably.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get involved in social issues and political issues. And that was his statement. So I think that Disney probably should have took the same route.
100% agree.
And I think most large organizations like Disney should take that same approach, because you're alienating a group of your customers by approaching these issues.
Yeah, does that? And I guess that's the next question. Does that even belong in industry, in commerce?
So I look at it this way, right? Like a public company, a public CEO, number one responsibility is to maximize shareholder value. Right?
Right.
I mean,
Right out of Friedman.
That's it. That's your job, right? Anytime you're doing anything that you're making a stance on something, you're going to upset a large portion of the population, which in turn is going to hurt your ability to maximize shareholders' return. So if I'm the CEO, I'm Jordan. I'm not stepping my foot into anything. And there will be inevitably blowback because I don't say anything, but that blowback is less than if I do say something.
I'm with you on I'm with you 100%.
My personal opinions don't matter because it's the organization, right? Public company is its own entity. That entity does not have a thought process in this. You know what I mean? That entity is there to provide a service, make money, return it to shareholders.
Conservatives buy Jordans.
100% they do.
I mean, it's so simple. And it's like, could you apply that now? I mean, where companies are choosing to get social and, you know, get involved in social issues, I think it's just muddy.
FTX.
I just
can't
wouldn't.
win. You can't win. That's the thing. It's a
there's
zero-sum game. You cannot win. And if I'm going into a fight that I cannot win, I'm not going into that fight.
Sun Tzu, right out of it. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because if you know that this fight will lead me to reduce my shareholder value, then don't have it. I mean, but it's tough because people want to get involved. You know, they want to share their opinion. Plus, I mean, there's other things like
what's happening with this massive FTX, scandal, fraud, right? And then, of course, the CEO.
Bernie Madoff, I think they called him.
Mini Madoff
of crypto.
Mini Madoff.
Mini Madoff. Yeah.
I don't even.
It's not a good
is that
title.
A Mini Madoff? I don't even know if it's mini because
I think it's more than Madoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fluff.
It's $3.1 billion.
It was all fluff. It was
$3.1 billion, and you don't have a balance sheet.
Man, when Warren Buffett said, I will write, if you gave me 1% of all the crypto, or you gave me 100% of all the crypto, I wouldn't give you $1. I mean, the GOAT said it, like, what was that, a year ago or something like that? Like, I'm not, by no means I'm not a professional, but I mean, someone I admire says that, like, and I respect him. It's like, that's it. Then you see something like this happen and you're like, is this real?
Right.
Like, is this what he was talking about?
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, and this we can go down a real deep
No, this is a deep hole,
right?
but
I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, no money is real. You know what I mean? Like,
but
unless it's gold.
But it's not backed by anything.
Well, neither is the U.S. dollar. Besides just the United States saying, "Oh, we will." We will.
Yeah,
I mean, like, once we left the gold standard, it's just zeros on a spreadsheet, right? I mean, like, that's really what it is. But
like the deficit.
Yeah.
It's not even real.
I mean, even
it's not even real. It just keeps going up, and
right.
It's like, oh, look, that's
just
a big
print more
number.
money. You know what I mean? Like, just make more of it. But I mean, if you look at it, like, right, like, we are in a time, there's always been fraudsters, you know what I mean? But we are in a time where I think people are looking to be, quote unquote, saved, right? They're looking for this, they have this savior hero complex, and they want to put it on, Elizabeth Holmes, right? Like, I've been in the lab industry for years, you know what I mean? And like the stuff that she was saying she could do, like, we would laugh about it. We'd be like, there's no way that this is real. Like, there's no way. But she has 2 presidents that back her. She has generals on her board. She raises $948 billion. She's on Time Magazine, SBF, he's on, Time Magazine. Like, the media people, like, we anoint these people because of what they say. And nobody, like, lifts the hood and just says, what's going on underneath there? You know what I mean? Like, nobody does their diligence at all.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, now you see it plastered, of course, all over conservative media, where Senator was blowing SBF a kiss, and different. So this is back to some of the conversations around, like, the decisions we make and the alignments we make outside of our direct purview of what we're doing as an organization to increase shareholder value. Plus, I mean, the whole fraud piece, I mean, it's nothing new, but man, it really is a conversation to have around, like, what we're taking as fact and where's the real data.
It blows my mind, man. Like, it literally blows my mind, because look, I think that we talked about it before, right? Like, I think there's a place for crypto. I think there's a place for the metaverse, right? I think there's a place for all of this, but it's almost also becoming a political stance, right? Like, everything in the world is becoming so politicized, where if one person likes it, I'm automatically not going to like it because they're a Democrat. And if a Democrat likes it, I can't like it because a Democrat likes it. But the media and everybody, it's a social construct, right? Like, we want these saviors to come in, whether it's Trump on the right, Whether it's, these people raising all these crazy fund. I mean, FTX had a $32 billion evaluation, right? $32 billion evaluation. For what? For nothing. Legitimately nothing, right? I mean, look at these massive companies that have failed in the past 20 years with all these insane evaluations, It's people are losing faith, I think, in stock market.
Yeah.
Right? It's crashing, it's going down. I mean, people are losing faith in your everyday, the people that are listening to this right now, right? 99% of them are just like us, right? We're Main Street people. We're not billionaires, but it's negatively affecting us. And those people, like this Sam Friedman, right? I think he had a $300 million loan that the company gave him. I mean, he's in the Bahamas. You know what I mean? Like I know one of their executives rolled out to a country without extradition. I mean, the writing's on the wall, right? Like they made their money and everybody else lost, right?
Right.
And it's just it constantly is just an erosion of trust in the people that are supposed to be looking out and protecting us.
Yeah. You know, something I want to comment on the whole polarization thing with I think it breaks down to one major issue. Humanity. We quit respecting each other as human beings. Because immediately, you know, we don't look at liberals or conservatives as people like us. They're different, right? So we can disagree, and I can still love the human being, right? Because we'll say, okay, you come from a place I disagree, but whatever your values are, they're genuine in the fact that you believe that they are right for you, right? Mm-hmm. What immediately happens is when someone disagrees with us, they are no longer looked at as a human being, and what I see on social media as people and humans like we are, right? It's like these figures, these people become, you know, less than human because they disagree with us.
It's the new racism.
It's a new racism. And you know what? That creates a polarization that gives platforms to people who like to play to each side of the house. And we're just in this huge cycle of the media feeding into it, and social media feeding into it. And I honestly believe that, and this is kind of my initiative to kind of approach these things, is to just be more, you know, understanding of people with different views. And not that I feel like I'm that guy, because I respect everybody's views and I don't look people differently if they disagree with me. But I think that there's a lot of people who don't.
No, I agree.
And it's just like automatically, oh, you're a liberal and you're this and you love Biden and you love all, you know.
But isn't it people too? Like the media is responding to people. It's like it's like blood sport, and I don't think it's changed. I mean, it maybe look different today than it did 2,000 years ago in the Roman era when, you know, the gladiators and people were being thrown into these arenas to be eaten alive by animals, because our society gravitates toward the conflict. Mm-hmm. It gravitates toward the division. And we were talking about this off air, Travis, earlier about, just basic human dignity, respect. Like, how do we integrate that back into, what society deems is actually noteworthy and newsworthy? I mean, it's a big question you ask, Sam, because that's really the polarization is what's fueling people's desire to tune in.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's pure hate on each side.
Yeah.
I mean, let's simplify it. I see it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've experienced it. It's, it makes you not want to be a part of either side.
Agreed.
To be honest with you.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? And that's where I think the growth is. That's where I think the healing is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not the majority.
No.
Everybody.
But you know what? Neither side can win without getting that group of people.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's how it will start to change, right? Like, because liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, whatever, like, nobody can win unless they get this middle ground, right? That can sway either way, right? Because here's what I mean, like, and then I'll stop again on the political bandwagon, but like the next 2 years, right?
Republican don't do House, that. You're doing good.
Republican House, Democratic Senate, nothing's going to get done. So for the next 2 years, right? Like, our society is going to be stagnant. And at some point, right, people are not going to accept that anymore.
Right.
Like, at some point it's not going to be acceptable. Identity politics aren't working. And I don't know who it's going to be, right? But hopefully there's some politician out there, a group of them that are just like, you know what, we're here for the American people. They need a vision, right? I would love to hear the vision.
We have bad leadership.
We have terrible
Period.
leadership.
That's where it's not. I'm going to overly simplify this.
Leadership matters.
Leadership matters, and we have, in my opinion, bad leadership now. We had bad leadership in the past, right? But it takes a lot. It takes a lot for people to accept that maybe decisions they made were not the best ones.
Right.
Well, this is good. Let's talk about it. We've only talked a lot about business, but politics and business go hand in hand. Politics and business do go hand in hand, and there is so much that goes into the relationship between politics and business in the different spheres that we operate in. And yes, another cliffhanger. So listen in to the next episode, episode 55, in just 1 week. If you don't want to wait, you don't have to. Every Wednesday, we do a long-form interview with an expert in a different area of leadership. Every Friday, Solo Friday, it's just you and me in the trenches, focusing on one tool for your leadership tool belt. Why? So that you can aim for greatness, that you can thrive,